So first, let me introduce myself. I'm Aurélie Pelfren. I'm a teacher and researcher in the Health and Environment Department at Junia ISA in Lille. I have a specialization in environmental toxicology and more specifically in human exposure to metallic pollutants and consideration of bioaccessibility through ingestion, but also inhalation. So the objective of this presentation is to present you the simplified method for oral bioaccessibility of metalloids in soils. And briefly, I'm going to present you the context and objectives of this approach. And we will see more specifically the methodology, the results obtained, and its operating condition and perspectives on this topic. So we are in the context of management of polluted sites and soils, and more specifically on assessment of human exposure by metallic pollutants. Ingestion of soil particles and dust is one of the more important exposure routes to humans, and more specifically for children via hand-to-mouth behavior. But in current risk models, they assume that 100% of the ingested contaminants pass into the blood. And this involves a potential overestimation of risk and management measures. Indeed, contaminants can be partially released from soil by ingestion, depending on their speciation under gastrointestinal condition. So when we consider the fate of metalloids after ingestion of soil particles, in the digestive tract, we have soil particles and metalloids attached to these particles. And a part of these particles, of these metals, can be released in the gastric and intestinal fluids. It corresponds to the bioaccessible fraction. A part of this fraction can be excreted, and another part can pass through the intestinal membrane and be available for absorption to blood. In this case, we talk about bioavailability. And this bioavailable fraction can be measured from in vivo test, while the bioaccessibility can be assessed by in vitro test. So compared to the total concentration of metalloids in soil, oral bioaccessibility is a relevant indicator of the environment health link, and it improves the realism of the exposure assessment and increases the relevance of exposure calculations. The UBM, Unified Bioaccessibility Method, is the reference method in France, but also in other European countries. There is an international standard, and this test was validated against an in vivo model for arsenic, cadmium, and lead. Briefly, this test consists on a big chemical extraction, allowing to simulate both the bioaccessibility in the stomach. So we have at the end of this phase, the bioaccessibility in the gastric phase, and allow to simulate the bioaccessibility in the entire digestive tract. So it's in the gastrointestinal phase. And to do that, it's necessary to prepare synthetic digestive fluids. But for polluted sites and soils managers, this test, it's a complex method, time-consuming. It needs high technical skills and numerous chemical and biological reagents, and the cost is relatively high. So, due to the complexity of this in vitro method, a simplification of them might be a great interest for managers. And that's why our objective was to propose a first-tier method as a decision-making tool. And to do that, we evaluated the potential suitability of chemical single extraction methods to mimic the bioaccessible fraction of arsenic, cadmium, and lead in a wide range of soils. It was the purpose of the project named Odessa, supported by ADEME, carried out by Junia and EHESP, it's the French School of Public Health. And to explain more specifically our approach in this project, we collected 201 soil samples in 25 different polluted sites in France. And these soils present a great diversity in terms of soil uses, nature of uses, in terms of pollutions and degrees of contamination. So you can see on the right of the slide, the ranges for some of physico-chemical parameters, clay, silt, sand, organic matter, and pH values, and also the ranges for the concentration, the total concentration of arsenic, cadmium, and lead. About the experimental design, 3 steps were considered. In the first step, it was a selection of relevant chemical extractant to simulate oral bioaccessibility of the 3 metalloids. And to do that, we consider 30 soil samples selected among the 201 soil samples. 8 conditions were tested with different extractants, more specifically acetic acid, citric acid, EDTA, DTPA, hydrochloric acid, and NaOH. And of course, the UBM test was carried out on these 30 soil samples. And the statistical treatment, and more specifically linear regressions, allowed selecting the best method to continue on the entire soil population. So in the step 2, 4 methods were considered, more specifically citric and acetic acids, EDTA, and hydrochloric acids. And the step 3 consisted in the selection of the best extractant among the 4 tested, and based on a statistical treatment and based also on the protocol, more specifically physiological conditions, speed, number of samples, and cost, the best choice was hydrochloric acid. So we can see on this slide the details of the simplified protocol by using hydrochloric acid. So according to the preparation of soils, the samples should be air dried and then sieved to consider the fraction less than 250 micrometers. So it's very important to, I insist on the fact that the soil should be in its sieved form, without prior mechanical grinding as conventionally done. This is the same for the UBM test. And considering this sieved form, it's to improve the realisms of human exposure. So the protocol consists in weighting 30 milligrams of soil sample and to consider 3 replicates per sample. And to weight this amount, it's necessary to have a precision weighting scale. 25 milliliter of hydrochloric acid at 0.65%. It corresponds to a concentration of 0.21 mole per liter. So this volume is added in each tube. And after, it depends on the material used, but in my case, in my lab, we consider 7 soil samples per set, plus 1 blank and 1 reference soil. So it corresponds to 23 tubes per set. And in the lab, we can manage 3 sets per day. The tubes were then placed in an ultrasonication bath for 15 minutes. It's to mix the soil and the solution. And then it's the digestion for 1 hour at 37 degrees. So the digestion can be done in a thermostatic chamber or in a specific hot block. And then the solutions were filtrated at 0.45 micrometers, either with Serang filters, but it's long, or with an automated system. And then it's analysis. Again, it can be done by different analytical materials, for example, atomic absorption spectrometry or by ICP. Following the material used, it will be necessary to dilute the solutions. Now about the results obtained with this simplified test in this project. In first, it's about arsenic, the results about arsenic. So on this slide, you can see the relationships between the bioaccessible concentration of arsenic obtained with the UBM test in the gastric phase on the left, and in the gastrointestinal phase on the right, and the extractable concentration by hydrochloric acid. So we can see that we have significant relationships in both phases with a coefficient of determination of 0.91. And when we look more specifically the equation, we can see that the slope is different from 1. So it's necessary to use this equation to correct extracted concentration with hydrochloric acid to approach bioaccessibility. Now for cadmium, results for cadmium. We can see again significant relationships in both phases with a coefficient of determination of 0.98 and 97 respectively in gastric and gastrointestinal phases. And regarding the equation in the gastric phase, we can see it's like a substitution of method, because we have a slope of 1 and an intercept close to 0. And in case of gastrointestinal phase, it's necessary to correct with this equation the concentration because of the intercept. Moreover, we can see that for the low values, there is no response with the simplified test, because we have a concentration less than the limit of detection. And more specifically, for these soil samples, it corresponds to a total concentration of cadmium less than 0.20 milligram per kilogram. So we can conclude that the test is not valid if we have total concentration of cadmium less than 0.20 milligram per kilogram. But in the same time, at this concentration, there is no health issue. And then results for lead. we have a significant relationships in the gastric phase with a coefficient of determination of 0.99. And again, as for cadmium in the gastric phase, we can see we have a substitution of methods. However, it's for the gastrointestinal phase, the correlation is not so good, even if we have a coefficient of determination of 0.72. We can see it's more difficult to simulate this phase, but we can have, with this simplified test, a first estimate. So about the operating conditions, and more specifically, the results processing. So we have the extractable concentration of arsenic, cadmium, and or lead with measured with the simplified test. From this concentration, the predicted bioaccessibility may be calculated by taking the equations from simple linear regressions. Of course, except for cadmium and lead in the gastric phase, where the slopes are equal to 1 and the intercepts close to 0. So regarding the field of application of these equations, to remember, these equations were established from 201 soil samples in which the ranges of metalloids concentration are for arsenic from 1.9 to 230 milligram per kilogram. For cadmium, it's from 0.2 to 480 milligram per kilogram. And for lead, it's from 9 to 12,300 milligram per kilogram. So regarding these ranges, and more specifically for arsenic, we decided to integrate 27 additional samples with a more important contamination in arsenic, but also in lead. So this equation were validated for these new soils, and so you have on the right the new field of application. So for arsenic, it goes up to 2,600 milligram per kilogram, and to for lead 50,000 milligram per kilogram. In this slide, we are going to see the advantages and the point of attention of hydrochloric acid test compared to the UBM test. In terms of protocol, so compared to the UBM test, we can see that hydrochloric acid protocol is faster, ease of use. In terms of number of samples, an example in my lab, it's possible to manage 105 samples in triplicate per week, compared to the UBM test where it's only 30 samples per week. And in terms of commercial cost per sample, it's necessary to count about 80 euros for 3 elements in case of hydrochloric acid test. For UBM test, the price differs according to the lab, but it's between 570 euros and 700 euros. So we can see that we have a significant reduction of analytical cost with the simplified protocol. For the point of the points of attention about on the simplified protocol, so you can see it's necessary to consider a very small sample quantity. It's only 30 milligram. So it requires a precision weighting scales, and it needs to homogenize the samples well during its preparation. So to conclude on this simplified test, it could be used as a suitable proxy to assess the bioaccessibility of arsenic, cadmium, and lead in a first tier screening, and in a second tier study on a few soil samples. We recommend to use a UBM protocol to consider bioaccessibility in terms of human exposure. So in this slide, how is used the bioaccessibility of metallic pollutants in health risk characterization? In fact, they are the recommendations from the international standard, and more specifically, the decision on whether or not to use this in vitro test should take into account the following points. For example, we have is the site at risk if conventional methods are used? Is soil ingestion considered a predominant route of exposure? Can there be any impact on remediation decision, etc.? You can find all these different points directly in this international standard. And regarding to the regulators, there is no answer yet, but this question will be considered in a new project, a recently selected project named BioHackers, supported by ADEME. I'm going to give you more details about this new project in the next slide. So to finish this presentation, some perspectives about this topic. There is a proposal of an international standard project on this simplified protocol. The current status of this proposal is under consultation for vote. The vote will be closed in June. And about the new project, BioHackers, the objectives are to clarify and explain the concept of bioaccessibility to several actors, and to remove the locks on certain uncertainties to better interpret the results, and thus provide feedback on the use of bioaccessibility during risk studies. And this involves more specifically promoting the use of the UBM test and also its simplified test. Extending the use of bioaccessibility to other metallic elements. For now, UBM is validated only for arsenic, cadmium, and lead. So it will be very interesting to consider other elements, and more specifically chromium, nickel, and antimony. And to do that, it will be necessary to validate them against an in vivo model. And this involves defining an operational framework for all these elements, metallic element studied. So thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for this opportunity to present you this topic.
Thank you, Aurélie, for this very clear presentation, including operational aspects. I would like to invite the audience to add comments or questions on the chat. We still have several questions. I don't know if you also have a look at them. The first one concerned sampling, and for the sieving, is it a dry or wet way for the
dry? It's the soil sample should be dried at air dried less than 40 degrees before to sieve them.
Okay, thank you. We also have another comment regarding a publication from Mingo and Hall 10 years ago that the reference mentioned that in that publication it has been concluded that the same extractant can be used to simplify this method, and so the comment is on why it takes so long, 10 years, to reach the same conclusion. So I don't know if you did a review of the publication before the starting of the project, and that
yes.
paper, did you know this paper?
Yes, it's a good question. Yes, I know this paper. That's why, based on the literature and our first experiments, we choose to select more specifically this extractant, hydrochloric acid. And with our protocols, the objective was to we change the solid liquid ratio, and we maintain we keep the temperature at 37 degrees. The objective was to have a physiologically relevant protocol compared to the UBM test. But yes, it's true. It's true. We have the same conclusion 10 years after.
And to answer another question, have you already published your results on that project?
Yes. I put yes, just after the different references, and with my colleagues, we published in 2020 our results in Science of the Total Environment.
Thank you. If we keep going on the comments, how does the speciation of those metalloids, such as arsenic 3 or 5 plus, interact with this type of analysis, as the arsenic 3 plus is more soluble and more toxic?
It's a very good question. We don't consider this in our study. It was just total arsenic, but we will see this speciation more in detail in the new project Biohackers, and more specifically also for chromium.
Okay, thank you. Do you know of bioaccessibility of lead from bullets? If a child hits bullet fragments, how is the bioaccessibility in the gastro system?
No, I don't know. For now, we just test in soils, soil samples, in dust, but not in bullets.
Okay, thank you. We have also comment, a remark that the presentation was a good illustration of the interest to value research results and not only in publication. Thank you for this comment. And yes, it's mentioned that we go for the normalization so that this results will be known in a larger audience, maybe. Is this simplified method commercially available yet? That's another question.
For now, not yet, because it will be the objective of the new project to promote this simplified test, the simplified protocol. For now, in France, we have 2 data sheets on bioaccessibility the protocol is described in this paper. But the objective is to have the a more international paper, and of course, if we can have a standard, an international standard, it would be good.
Thank you. The other, the next question, I think you already answered, because it's about the testing the contaminated sediments. You already mentioned what you test and not. So I think, yeah. Could the next questions, could the centrifugation step after the extraction and careful pipetting be used instead of syringe filtration? Like in UBM, I feel it could help increase throughput.
Yes, with filtration, with filtration, it's better because we can remove the fine particles, and more specifically in the UBM test, where it's just centrifugation, and after it's necessary to carefully pipetting the solution. It's sometimes difficult, and for us in the lab, it's better to filtrate to obtain a very clear supernatant.
Okay, thank you. Can we expect modifications of the pollution treatment legislations with those ISO? And has those methods could drastically change the way metal pollution could be handled? So it's maybe join a question we also discussed together regarding the practical use and change in the contaminated site management.
Yes, yes, it's true. I can see that some of my consultant colleagues use bioaccessibility and integrate it in their risk assessment. For example, I can show you, yes, on this slide, this is a practical example from a French consultant where they used bioaccessibility of metallic pollutants in brownfield management. So just to show briefly, on this site, it was a problematic of urban agriculture. So with different plots, 12 plots. And regarding only the total concentration of metallic pollutants, the use was not compatible for several plots, more specifically to the south of the site. But when they use bioaccessibility, this parameter change management options, and more specifically for these plots here 5, 8, 9, and 10. With this, they were able to adapt the use and especially maintain the urban agriculture project on certain plots. And after about legislation, for example, in France, where there is no legal basis for applying this approach, because there is no legislation on polluted soils. We have only circulars and ministerial notes. But we have in our national methodology a part that refers to bioaccessibility, and in the field, validation is the responsibility of the administration, which can also request an expert opinion before making a decision.
Thank you, Aurélie. And as we are almost at the end of this coffee break. I will just take the last question, maybe. When using such simplified methods, what is the range of bioaccessibility encountered in polluted soil, and is change with the total soil concentration?
Yes, the range of bioaccessibility in these polluted soils, of course, it depends on the phase you consider. For cadmium and lead, the bioaccessibility in the gastric phase is often very high. The range, about the ranges, it's around, it's between, in the gastric phase for these elements, it's between 50% and 90% of bioaccessibility. For arsenic is, and again, for cadmium and lead in the gastrointestinal phases, this concentration are less. For cadmium, it's in general less than 40%, and for lead in the different soils, it's often less than 10%. And for arsenic, we have the same bioaccessibility in gastric and gastrointestinal phases, and it's around, it's between 20 and 40%. And yes, it changed with the total soil concentration, and it depends also on physicochemical parameters.
Thank you. Thank you very much to all the participants and the audience to the coffee break. It's 12:15 past. So I thank you very much, Aurélie, for your presentation. You can find more details, and this video will be on the website, on the Solvay website.